How's it? Neil Everett here with Dan Monson, the Eastern Washington University head men's basketball coach, talking about the Eagles and the Washington State Cougars at Spokane Arena. It's the 509 Classic, December 17th. Coach, how's Cheney treating you thus far as you have begun year two?
Cheney's not the problem, It's the opponents when they beat you in games. Cheney's been great. I gave my team a little history lesson this morning and told them that, I was born at Sacred Heart Hospital in Spokane while my dad was the head coach of the Cheney Blackhawks, and I went to elementary school or kindergarten at Betts Elementary. So Cheney's just, coming back home for an old man like me.
Yeah, you're born in Spokane, and then your dad coaches at Cheney High School, and then he goes to Pasco, and then Michigan State, then Idaho, then Oregon. You go UAB, Gonzaga, Long Beach, Minnesota, and Long Beach State. So when you think of your life and the 509, what's the relationship?
Well, if you throw the 208 in there with the Moscow area code, it's been basically my dad and I's life. That's where we started and that's where we ended. He always he passed away October 1st. Was always a Pasco Bulldog and always an Idaho Vandal. Right to his his request of it at his funeral. So. And for me, I started at Gonzaga and ended up in, my last stop here is at Eastern. And so, we kind of had the same full circle careers, just different schools in the 509 and 208 area codes.
What's the best or the most memorable advice when it comes to the coaching profession that your dad gave you?
Winning is way better than losing.
He was a man of few words, but really hit it home.
He would always, anytime you'd ever try to, when you'd have a win and you would be complaining about your team, he'd always say, winning's way better than losing. But, he was a great dad and a great coach, and you put the two together, and it was great to always have him watching your games and giving you advice and everything. But he tried really hard, and he couldn't do it all the time, but he tried really hard to not give too many suggestions or too much critiquing, because he knows that you're in the bunker with your assistants, and you've gone through most of it on your own, so, but he loved the zone, he and Judd Heathcote were kind of the two guys that took a lot of, the matchup zone back before the 3-point line. And so whenever I play zone, he would always get his chest pumped out a little bit, but it was harder to kind of do it when they put the 3-point line in, because he would just pack in that paint.
You're in high school at Moscow High School. He's coaching Idaho. You've got Washington State, December 17th in Spokane, 509 Classic. Isn't by law when you're in Idaho like that, you have to absolutely despise Washington State?
Well, if it wasn't by law, it was by blood, because he did. So, when you're growing up and it's a compliment to Washington State. He looked at those kind of like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. They looked at an obstacle in their way for what they were trying to achieve. And, he was trying to put Idaho on the map at the time, and George Raveling and Washington State were in his way, and that's like when Fitz and I and Fuey started at Gonzaga, Washington State was in the way. They were, somebody that was looked upon in your community as a better program. And I think Mark has done a good job of kind of taking over the 509 right now. And, I come back and, I would like to take a piece of it. And WSU is trying to, stake their claim. And it's a great basketball area. And that's why this game and you got to give so much credit to Washington State and Coach Riley that they will play the game, because a lot of bigger schools won't do that because they claim there's no upside for them. But I think that David has been at the other side of this at Eastern, and for the community and the area, he plays this game, and I think it's really cool.
Well, I'll ask you the same thing I asked Coach Riley. What's your team doing well now, and what needs to improve?
Well, our offense is way ahead of our defense, and our rebounding has not been good the whole time. So, we're scoring, and we've got signs of being a good offensive team. But if we don't get better defensively, we're not gonna have much success. So we had our best defensive game Saturday. We had our best defensive practice today. So hopefully we're moving in that direction. But I remember last year after playing Washington State, I said, if we continue to defend like this, if we were the United States military, we were going to be speaking Chinese here in about 2 weeks, and that hasn't changed in a year. So we're still kind of not defending like our lives dependent on it, which you need to be a good basketball team.
You put points up at Poly, took UCLA down to the wire. You put points up at Colorado, took Tad Boyle's club down to the wire. You lost Andrew Cook before the season even started, and he was a huge part of what you had planned, I'm sure. But you do have the Big Sky's second leading scorer right now in Isaiah Moses. What makes him worth the price of admission come the 17th at the 509 Classic?
Well, Isaiah's a true point guard. He's small, and that's he's been overlooked. He's got that chip on his shoulder. Kind of reminds me of if people really want to dive back into the history of the 509. He's got a little bit of Quentin Hall in him, kind of that little guy that doesn't realize he's little, that isn't afraid, that is a competitor. And, right now he's one of just a couple guys in the country that's shooting over 90% from the line, 50% from the field, and 40% from three. So, he's very effective. He takes good shots, and he's a good point guard. He just got to get some guys to play defense with him so that he can get some wins under his belt.
Yeah, he went for 30 at Colorado, and what's it mean for your program and its relationship with the city of Spokane to have a kid like JoJo Anderson on the squad who went to Mount Spokane High School?
Well, it's really cool. At Division I, you're looking for guys all over the world. You don't care where they're from. You just are trying to get the best basketball players. But when they're local, we had Sam Stockton last year, and now and he came from Lewis and Clark State, and JoJo comes from Whitworth. And yet they both come from Spokane, and it's pretty cool when you can have guys represent their area and represent where they came from. And JoJo has really been not just a good basketball player for us, but a really good leader and a captain of the team, and just got experience. And he's been around, and he's had success wherever he's been. They won at Mount Spokane. They won at Whitworth. They won at Idaho last year, and hopefully he'll help us win here.
What's an event like the 509 Classic? How's that showcase your program, Coach?
Well, anytime you get to play a Power 5 school, when you're a mid-major, and that's how Gonzaga was exploded, was playing bigger schools on neutral courts, on playing pretty much anybody, anytime, anywhere. And like you said, we've done that this year too. We just haven't won. But if you get a couple of those under your belt, and you get some confidence, and all of a sudden you can elevate your program. But you have to get teams to. I know when David Riley was a coach here, they were so good that he couldn't get teams. He couldn't get play. One of the things that has helped us to get UCLA and some of these schools is our record wasn't as good last year. But we're on, I think, the rise. We're heading in the right direction. And, this is a game that, everybody in Spokane or the 509 area code are familiar with the two teams. And so it's really fun. It's like we're kind of like their little brother right now, trying to step up and take a swing at the big brother and hope that it lands.
They're familiar with the teams. They may not be as familiar with you, seeing as you were at Long Beach State for so many years before coming back home. If someone asks you, what's your coaching philosophy? What's your answer?
I'm just trying to win. Is my answer. I think any good coach adapts to the personnel. When I was at Gonzaga, we were known to have a lot of shooters, and then I went to Minnesota, and we didn't have anybody that could shoot out of 5 feet, and we had to, we started 4-4 man at my first year at Minnesota. So, it changes from year to year, but I think my style or my philosophy is a little old school, coming from my dad, but also, you're not in this profession for 40 years and not adapt to the times, adapt to the personnel, adapt to the situation. And so, it's changed a little bit. You asked me that question, and 2 years ago I would have said I'm a defensive-oriented coach, but we've been so bad defensively the last 2 years that I won't say that, because then it doesn't hold a lot of water into the barrel. So.
You mentioned your dad. I was the stats keeper, the Oregon Ducks basketball stats keeper for the radio play-by-play guy when your dad was the coach there and I was a student there. Then I would give up my spot for him to come put the headphones on for the post game. I always remember he wouldn't watch the free throws, right? Do I remember that correctly? Like, he'd always have his kind of head down when a guy was shooting a free throw. Do you watch him?
Yeah, he was a little superstitious. He had, I call those things now rituals, but he was, because I have a couple of rituals but I'm not quite as. He used to touch like every drinking fountain from the locker room to get up Mac Court too, and he had a few of those things, but. He also coached not just, your other tie to him is your dad, Dave Robertson at Shadle. They had some great Pasco Shadle games too. So, you and I go way back. He goes way back. Your dad goes way back, and hopefully the people will say back that the 509 will go way back, because it's a tradition that, there's so much great tradition in this area. Basketball wise, and hopefully this game will be a start of that tradition of people enjoying basketball with two local teams.
Yeah, in fact, I think you and I met for the first time at the Inland Empire Hall of Fame induction ceremony, because Coach Robertson and Coach Monson were both inducted the same year. I think it was at the Davenport, maybe the Ridpath. In a room down there, and I remember, because of course I remember your dad, and your dad was fairly intimidating. So was Coach Robertson. So that was a heavy hitter room on that particular day.
I think didn't you introduce him? And I think I introduced my dad
right
at the time. We were on the they had somebody. Speak on behalf of them or something to introduce him to come up, and I think you and I both did that for our dads.
Dueling introductions. I asked Coach Riley. I told him, yeah, that is really cool. That's something I hadn't never thought of until just that moment right there when you brought up Big Dave. So thanks for
because two losers like us ended up pretty good, coming from a couple of heavyweights, as you call them.
Right? We did okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
we did okay. Yeah.
Right. Before the 509 Classic, I'm going to Dick's to get a whammy, because that's how I pregame. What about, where do you take your team? Do you have a favorite spot in Spokane that you'll pregame at?
No, because Spokane's a little far for us to, it's just a little bit out of convenience area on a game day. But they do love themselves some Texas Roadhouse rolls. If we have a recruit in, they love to go, but you got to go clear out to the north side to get them. So, But there's so many good places in Spokane, and Dick's is a staple. You know, the Pasco Bulldogs. When I was 8 years old and they'd come for the state tournament, they'd get their Dick burgers, and so it's a lot of things. The Shack too. It's gone now, but
the Shack.
Had breakfast at the Shack back in the day.
What a great spot. Yeah. Tartar on the fries at Dick's. Okay, the first time these two teams met, it was a million years ago. Washington State beat Eastern Washington 16-10. Do you expect a higher scoring game on December 17th?
Well, if it isn't, we're going to lose, because there's no way possible that we can hold somebody to 10 points in 2 minutes, let alone 40. So, you know, I'm hoping for a higher scoring game, just the way we're defending right now.
All right, it's a 50. Go to the 509classic.com. You hit the Eagles sections and buy your Eagles seats for all you Eagle fans out there. $10 of every ticket goes to the NIL. $10 doesn't sound like a lot, Coach, but every penny counts from this NIL days. Am I right?
Yeah, especially the Eagle players. $10 does sound like a lot to them. So we're thankful for this game and the promotion of it and everything, because again, NIL is here. It's here to stay, and it's places like Eastern are not behind the times, but trying to get up to speed on it so we can be competitive with not just the Big Sky, but everybody in the Division I basketball.
Coach, thanks for sharing your dad with us over so many years in these stories today. And I'll see you at Jack and Dan's after the game.
What, can you give me directions to that place? I'm not sure I remember where that is.
I'll come pick you up. Dan Monson, everybody.